Okay, so I am finally getting to this punishment. This is the one for Backlash, which is why, despite still having this, I'm doing the punishment because that's our stipulation for Backlash. The winner, me, does the punishment. And I know it's almost 3 months late. I apologize. Life is always weird. I know we say it a lot, but it's true. Now, the idea for this was, since at the time the Backlash main event was another John Cena versus Randy Orton match, only with the roles reversed, where Randy's the face and John's the heel. And I do love that Randy called that out. The idea was to look up a really bad John Cena Randy Orton match, and there were plenty to choose from. This was the point in time when I was out of wrestling, so I missed most of their feud. But I do remember watching Spoonie when he did Wrestle, and he talked about John Cena versus Randy Orton part. Ah! So I knew there was plenty to choose from. So I just typed in worst John Cena Randy Orton match, and I got Unforgiven 2007. Alright, cool. I figured this would be the main event, because at the time, John was the WWE champion with the whole spinner belt thing, and they're two of the most popular guys there, big name guys. But no, it's actually the second to last. So I figured, oh yeah, Unforgiven is the Undertaker show, and this was his big return. Now, I did watch the whole show, and I thought of just watching the match. Well, I'll watch the whole show, and I'll talk about some of that later. I'm just going to talk about the match first of all. John Cena, Randy Orton. Again, this was the top result. Even though Google sucks, this is what it gave me. So I was like, alright, let's see how bad it is. I'm expecting a lot of rest holds from Randy, the methodical Randy Orton style that gets tiring after a while. What happened? Here's the backstory. For the setup for this particular match is, they had some match earlier. John won, and he didn't want to face Randy again. So, Randy goaded him by Raw. Yeah, Raw. John Cena's dad was in the audience, so Randy pulled him out, beat the crap out of him, and then punt kicked him back when Randy was doing that. So, of course, John's like, oh, yeah, you're in a match. You touch my dad, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. Fair response, by the way. So, they set the match up. Randy comes out first, and this is the time when Randy still has hair, and also doesn't have voices as his theme. So, that threw me off. But it's also that weird transition, yeah, we're in the Ruthless Aggression, but it still looks like the Attitude Era. There's still the Scratch logo, there's still all the industrial things for the Titantron. It's weird. It's this weird thing. Fucking Mike, JR and the King are still there calling Raw. Actually, I'm going to come back to that for a second. Anyway, let me stay on track. So, Randy comes out, John comes out, and I'm expecting, basically, like I said, the slow match and thing. No, John Cena comes out of the House of Fire. He goes after Randy. He beats the shit out of him for a while. He is fully in control. He's throwing him out of the ring. He's knocking him down. He's punching him, kicking him, all that stuff. And then eventually, Randy gets into him, gets the rest hold in. Aha, here it is. Here's why. We're going to go through 5 minutes of this and then some other things. And eventually John's going to win. And, people just kind of overacting it's the worst match because you're just probably sick of it at this point. It happened a lot around this time. Oh no! Oh no! I wish that was how it ended. And this is for the WWE Championship. This is a title match. Second to the penultimate match on this card. John gets out of the sleeper hold. He beats the shit out of Randy. He's in the corner. He's just wailing. The referee's going, hey, stop! Hey, stop! All right, you gotta stop! And then eventually the referee just, no! Call it off! John Cena's disqualified. It ends in a fucking DQ. I am almost 20 years removed from this. I have no real investment other than watching it for this video. I am pissed. Oh, now I see why this is the worst fucking match between these two. Because it's not a match, it's an angle. John Cena's dad is there again. And so that messes with Randy. So that's part of it. But the actual match was maybe 5 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. That was it! And then... So it gets disqualified. And, you know, Randy gets all mad, and he goes to attacks John's dad. John cuts him off, puts him in, and this is how I know this is before John became the full-on, like, kid character, for a better word, you know, we don't play it, because he still had, the lock was still called the FTS view. You know, the shut the fuck up. That's what it was. And so he had that on, and then John Cena's dad punt kicks Randy in the head. And, yeah, this is the time when, like, he wasn't Super Cena yet, but the hate was there, because this is 2007, it's after ECW, the One Night Stand thing, you know, if Cena wins, we riot. Because there are still some chances, like, let's go Cena, and Cena sucks, or let's go Cena, let's go Randy. A lot like today, actually. Which is weird. Like, a lot of that's not changed. But yeah, so that was the match. I can see why it was voted the worst one, because nothing really was accomplished. It furthered the storyline. It set up for them to have a no-holds-barred match later at No Mercy. So, yeah. Maybe I'll end the video there. And let me talk about some other things, though. Like, there's some other stuff. There's also a great Khali match, because he was the world champion when they're still using the WCW belt. So I had to suffer through that, too. But it was still like, it was him, Batista, and Rey Mysterio. So Batista and Rey Mysterio made it bearable. And I feel bad saying this, because it's not Khali's fault he was barely mobile, because he was a big fucking dude. And that's the thing, big dude. I get why Vince, you know, put the title on him, liked him, because look how big he is. And they did have impressive things where he had his hands, like, crushing a cantaloupe, and then crushing a watermelon peel, like, this is Rey's head, and this is Batista's head. That's impressive. Very scary. I would not want to be around that. I'm sure his hand is bigger than my fat head, which is saying a lot. But, like, he's just... It's the problem with one of the big guys. He doesn't have much mobility. That's why it's always they make a big deal of when someone like The Undertaker or Kane could go on the rope and jump off the rope and can move around when they're that big. It's just, you know, biology thing. So, you know, that was a fun match. Again, Batista had hair too, so that's weird. He won. So, that was good. CM Punk was there. He was the ECW champion at this time. And again, he came out not too cult of personality, and it feels weird not to hear that. It was a fine match. Okay, let me talk about some about the commentators. So, at the time, it's all three brands. It's Raw, SmackDown, ECW. They have all three of the commentating teams, all out there at once. Taz, Joey Styles for ECW, The King and JR for Raw, and JBL and Michael Cole for SmackDown. And the only ECW match on this card was for the championship. It was CM Punk versus Elijah Burke. So poor Taz and Joey Styles had to sit out there for the entire card, not saying a goddamn thing. They just had to avoid it whenever one of the matches went out into the, you know, the commentator's desk. So I feel kind of bad for them. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up was they had Candice Michelle, is that who it was? And Beth Phoenix. So there's one women's match on there. This is when they're, again, the real weird transitional period where they're divas, but they still have the women's title. And it was actually a good match. It was a really good match. They didn't know what they're doing. And, like, Beth Phoenix, there's a moment where Jerry the King Lawler is talking about how, oh, have you ever seen anything like this, anything like Beth Phoenix in the women's division, this powerful in the women's division? Oh, I don't think I have, King. China! Alright? This is that time when China was a non-person in WWE, and it pisses me off. Because she deserves some respect. Oh no, she did porno. And we know it's just because, like, she and Triple H broke up, and they're being really shitty, and I fucking hated that. And it sucks they didn't acknowledge her until after she died. But that's nothing against Beth Phoenix and Candice Michelle, because they had a really good match. Surprising in what era it was. Like, this is a match you'd see today. And that leads me to another thing. It's amazing how many of the people I saw almost 20 years ago on this card are still active today, either wrestling or being part of it. You had Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, John Cena, Randy Orton, MVP was there. He and Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's another one's wrestling. They were in that, like, can they coexist tag team champions thing, because they also wanted to feud for the United States champions, which MVP at the time. So, you know, good match. But, like, it's so weird how, like, you look back when, like, 92, 93, whenever they took Randy Savage off of active wrestling and put him on the commentary desk because he was too old. And like most of the people wrestling now are probably older than Randy was when they benched him. So wrestling's just weird now. It's just a weird thing. Ouch. I feel like I should say more, but there was a match between Triple H and Carlito, and I'm gonna be honest, I kind of fell asleep during that one because I have a new chair. It's really comfortable. I did like the stipulation that it was a no disqualification match for Carlito. He could use whatever holds, weapons, whatever. But if Triple H did anything, he would get disqualified. So at one point, Carlito brought out a garbage can, and that's about where I kind of started going in and out. But I know Triple H won, because of course he did. It's 2007. Why wouldn't he win? And he did have a moment with Batista after Batista won backstage, where Batista's got the belt over his shoulder and celebrating, and I'm assuming Triple H was a face at this point, and he's like, "Yeah, hey, good luck." They hug, they're happy. Like, just remember, I know it's easy to win this title. It's even harder to keep it. So I think seeds were being planted. Maybe I'll come back to that someday. I don't know. Thought there was something else I was going to say, but no, I think that's about it, really. There's not much. Yeah, this was a punishment. Like, the match itself wasn't terrible, but that ending was bullshit. I hate that now. I hate it then. Now, forever. I will hate disqualification, especially when it's a title match for the top title. Like, I'm mad about that. I should take notes, but the main thing is I'm mad and it's bullshit, and I see why that's number one. Alright, so I know Evolution is this weekend. We're probably going to do predictions for that. You got to think of a punishment. Still thinking of a punishment for Money in the Bank. I know Nate's still got to do his Randy Savage promo, so hopefully there'll be something soon. At least the video up on Friday. After that, who knows? Again, we're not very good at this, but we appreciate anyone who watches these things. So with that said, I am still your champion, and I'll see you next time.